Hey all you fiddlers, I am on the road right now, just a day trip up to Asheville to do some recording, but something came up on my drive that reminded me to tell y'all this. It's something that you don't really think about, but it can be pretty important when it comes to traveling with your instruments. So, especially if you're new to playing acoustic instruments in general, I just want to give you like a quick rundown. Especially fiddles, which are very delicately built instruments, you want to be very careful about the weather and the temperatures that you're exposing them to. Wooden instruments are sensitive to weather, and I'm sure that's probably seems obvious to you, or maybe you've never thought of it before. Humidity affects it, because wood is porous, and so, based on the moisture in the air and everything, that's going to have an impact. And people will even buy humidifiers specifically for their instruments. There's a kind that I used to use years ago. We haven't done it in recent years. I need to look into a humidifying system for my fiddle again. But when it gets really dry in the winter, it's this little tube thing that you run down into your fiddle through the F-hole, and it just holds some moisture. But that also, I know that sounds scary too, because it's like you don't want there to be water inside of your violin, but it has a way of holding it in there without like it dripping on the fiddle or anything. But so it's sensitive to moisture, and it's also sensitive to extreme heat or extreme cold. So you always want to watch leaving your instrument in the vehicle. In the many years of being on the road that I have lived, we have always had to consider when we're traveling, if we go do this or that, if we eat at this restaurant, or if we stop at this attraction or site on the way to our show, which we tried to do. We tried to see some different battlegrounds and some different scenery and things like that. We had to consider, when we did those things, where were the instruments and what were they doing, and were they going to be in the car for long periods of time, and was it going to get hot in there? Heat is what you have to look out for in particular. I wouldn't expose it to like extreme cold either, but here in the South, you have to really make sure that you're not going to leave your instrument in the car for more than an hour on those really hot days. You just don't want the actual instrument itself to get heated up, because it's glued together. So if you heat up glue, it can start to lose its integrity. And people have left their instruments in their vehicles for long enough to where it's the joke is, although it's hardly funny, is it turns into an instrument kit, because it comes back all into pieces. So that's not to scare you, and not to say that like if you have your fiddle out in 90-degree weather at a festival, that something's going to happen to it, because we have to do that all the time as part of our jobs in the industry. So it's not that they're not so sensitive that they can't take the regular changes that that life exposes them to, but you almost have to treat them like you would a pet in that sense. You would not leave your pet in the vehicle on a hot day, and you really can't leave your fiddle in there for much longer than you can leave a pet, which sounds crazy, but it's true. So the reason I thought of that today, and something that I wanted to tell y'all, a little tip, is that in my car at least, you can choose whether it's on head or feet. I guess most vehicles have that nowadays, whether the heat's coming out or air conditioner, whatever is coming out of your where it's hitting your upper body or your feet or both. And during the winter, when I've got the heat cranked up and it's coming out like full blast, like in the 80s, my fiddle rides between the driver's seat and the second bench most of the time, and there are vents for feet like right up against it where it's laying on the floor, because I put it in the floor so it has no way to fall. I want it to be all the way down at the bottom so that it can't tumble any further as I'm like taking curves and things like that. And so it's right up against a vent for the feet, and so if I leave the hot air on, that hot air is going to pour straight onto the fiddle case and heat it up. And so like I reached down there and felt of it just now, and it was hot to the touch. The case was. Now of course the case is supposed to protect it from some of that too. But so I just try to always remember to, if I have my heat way up, just go ahead and turn the foot warmer off, because it's just safer for the fiddle that way, where it's not going to be sitting there cooking. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that I am introducing y'all to all the different tools to use and terminology, and I also want to make sure that I'm including how to care for your instrument, because it's a big part of your instrument's longevity and how much money you spend doing this. Yeah, anyway, just wanted to throw that out there while I was thinking about it.